Every day I search in spite of me. Every day I search for what I cannot see. Every day I search for you. Every day I search for the truth. Just can't help falling in love with you. More with everything you do. Speak and the mountains tremble with fear. And at the sound of your voice, I know you are near, be near to me. Every day I long deep inside of me. Every day I long for what's plain to see. Every day I long to be with you. Every day I long for the truth.
Hello and welcome to Church Online with the Ecclesian House. How's everybody holding up out there with all the stuff going on in the world? How you doing, Pastor Nims?
Whew. That's what you get. Yeah.
For an indoor person who's allergic to green, you have a hard time with staying in your house.
Well, it's not the staying in my house I have a hard time with. It's the everyone else is in my house. Like, someone was like, "Do you like working from home?" I was like, "Yeah, working from home's not bad when my wife and kids aren't here." But we're going on like a month of me just being in this house and then the kids being here all the time. And Tina, my loving, beautiful, amazing wife,
Why you gotta make it sound so...
is always here.
I'm always here anyways.
I took a little bit of time off because I just, I felt like the ride frequency had dropped and I wasn't going to be able to make enough to justify going out. And I'm working again now, and I'm making as much, if not a little bit more than I normally make.
That's good, actually.
Yeah.
1, 2, or 3, Pastor Billiam?
On what?
I have too many drinks on my desk.
3, 1.
You have 3 drinks on your desk? You just opened one. That one was not technically on your desk. If it was sealed.
Desk.
Yeah, but it's sealed.
And then on my desk. And then...
Oh my gosh, that one wasn't open.
Did you seriously just crack the top on 2 of those drinks?
No.
Yes, he did.
That drink doesn't crack. This drink twists.
You popped the top and twisted them open. Come on now.
I popped the top on that drink, and I twisted this one.
Why are you being so...
Wow.
See how annoying she is, guys?
Oh, man.
I'm gonna open up a bang and stay up all night to keep this up.
Open up a bang and stay up all night. See what happens.
And then I'll
So,
sleep
one
all
of
night
our viewers on
tomorrow.
Facebook, Pastor Noobs, would like to know if you're drinking mead.
No, this is unsweet tea. This is Gatorade. And this is my baby. Bang.
That's your baby?
Wow.
But this is the cup from Dallas Comic-Con, which is sadly canceled this year, but that's okay.
Well, of course.
This is the cup from 2015, which is the last time I went.
South by Southwest was canceled this year, and they may never reopen it. They may never have it again.
What was?
South by Southwest.
People are suing over not being able to get refunds, and that may put South by Southwest out of business.
Yep. Which is going to be really funny, because then... Well, not
Then
funny.
they still won't get their money.
Yeah. Not funny. Not funny haha. Like, funny like ironic.
Funny, like, hee hee.
Yeah.
No, not he.
I've never understood the proclivity to sue a business that is already struggling to try to get money that they don't have to give you.
If you're
putting that business out of business.
If you're the only debtor,
Sure.
creditor, debtor, if you're the only creditor at that point, I almost get it. But when you're a huge company, no, it doesn't make any sense. You're never going to get any money if you ruin that business relationship.
Right.
But on the same token, some of the bankruptcy laws are a little fuzzy when it comes to businesses. I know a business that shut down to get rid of their um, debt, and then just reopened under a different name and kept doing business. Same staff, same everything. And you're kind of like, okay, that should be illegal. And so in a case like that, I can understand suing the board of directors, but not in a normal situational case.
I know of a ministry that got sued by another ministry, a Christian ministry who got sued by another Christian ministry. And we won't say the names of the ministries because that would, defeat the purpose of the larger picture of the gospel. But the one ministry that was getting sued sent a letter to the other ministry and said, hey, listen, we're more than happy to settle. We're more than happy to, draw this out and try to make payments. But if you pursue this lawsuit for this amount, you are literally going to force our ministry into bankruptcy. And the other ministry's response was, you should have thought of that earlier. But we all make mistakes. And it shouldn't tarnish our ministry for all time.
Right.
Because we made a mistake.
Yeah, and that's
why I'm not bringing up names.
And that's the hard part is, like, I kind of get both. But, again, if you're a ministry who's am I backwards again? Yeah, I am. I'm backwards again.
No, you're right. Your cups are over your left shoulder, and that's how they appear to be on my screen. Oh, on my screen. I don't know about live on OBS, but on Teams, you're right.
No, my shirt's in English. Okay. That means it's not switched. That's fine.
It's not in Japanese. No, it's.
Like,
Both of you
wouldn't
get.
it be in English either way?
It's either forwards English or backwards English.
That's all I have to say to either of you.
Is it?
All right.
So this week on the podcast.
This week on the pod, I just reached out and grabbed my notebook. So, Pastor Nooms, tell me about the Silver Purchase Act of 1934.
Don't know anything about it. Sorry.
What? Well, 1934 was a bad time for the nation. Not just economically, but geopolitically, economically, certainly it was bad. So there was a lot of issues, and whoa, hold on,
The world just fell on us.
the world just fell. Got this drawing notepad up here trying to block some of the sunlight that glares off of my glasses, and it just kind of folded like notepads do. Okay. Okay. So 1934 was an interesting time, and on Facebook they're saying I have an echo when I talk. Is that something you can fix on your end with the OBS and the mixes?
No, it's for some reason your output is also picking up in your input. It's your phone. It's because your phone speaker and mic are so close. It's picking it back up. It's kind of one of the reasons why we need to look at like you were mentioning, trying to get the microphone to work.
It shouldn't be doing that because Teams isn't playing my audio back to me when I'm talking. Oh, I see. Nooms has an echo. So yes, you're right. It is what you're talking about. Nooms is echoing. I should turn down the volume on my phone then.
Yeah, and my speaker is picking up a little bit of my output, but nowhere close to the amount.
Okay, let's try that for a while. Okay, so 1934.
All right,
So, President Roosevelt signed an executive order authorizing the Silver Purchase Act. And the Silver Purchase Act made it illegal to own silver, for individual people to own silver of a certain grade. And you had 90 days to come in and sell that silver to the government for a fair value price, without any kind of penalty for owning that silver. So the government could then use that to bolster the economy and make certain military bolster the military with that money coming in. And they would pay that in what was known as silver certificates. So they looked like money, except it actually said silver certificate on it. And it was a huge gamble. It was a huge gamble that these silver certificates were ever going to be worth anything. And it was a huge infringement on the freedoms and liberties of the people. And luckily, the plan worked. The economy was bolstered. And today, those silver certificates are worth more than their face value. Not a lot more, but they are worth more than their face value, mainly because of history. But they never actually lost their face value, which was the gamble, was that everyone was going to get these silver certificates, and then the economy was still going to suffer, and the value of these silver certificates, which weren't actually money, were going to become worthless. But that never happened, thankfully. So, Pastor Nooms, tell me about Abraham Lincoln's sweeping restrictions on constitutional rights during the Civil War.
I'm too white to talk about the Civil War.
Okay, so this is actually. Let's talk about this. So
he is more white than I am. I know. I actually have Indian in me. He don't.
Hey, if you go back to the 1400s, I have some Indian in me. I just took a genetic test.
Yeah, that's
but
too far, Holmes.
Yeah, Indian, not Clovis Indian.
That just means you're more Caucasian. Sorry, Holmes.
I was like, wait a second, that statement.
So what Lincoln did is he suspended habeas corpus. And, if you don't know what habeas corpus is, habeas corpus means if you're arrested for a reason and the judge that you go before says, well, no, this arrest violates this person's constitutional rights, then the judge can have you immediately released. Okay? So what Lincoln did is he suspended habeas corpus so that he could then suspend freedom of speech and suspend freedom of the press, so that they could then arrest 35,000 people in the northern states who were opposed to the Civil War, so that all of the northern states could be unified without a dissenting voice and be able to carry out civil war without being undermined within their own borders. It's a pretty effective measure, and Lincoln almost was tried with treason when the Civil War ended because of it, but then they found that he was within his rights to do so simply because it was a Civil War and because they had no idea who the enemy was, and it was found looked back upon as a favorable device when you don't know who the enemy is and everyone's in the same country, and it made sense to the courts at the time.
See, the Patriot Act.
It turned out well. Same as the Patriot Act. Okay. The point we're making here is you didn't know what the Silver Purchase Act of 1934 was. You didn't know about Lincoln's suspension of constitutional rights. And most of the people walking around or sitting around in their homes right now don't either. Okay? They're looking at what's going on in the world and they're going, what do you mean I gotta wear a mask to go to Walmart? I've got freedoms. You can't tell me to wear a mask. Yeah, it could be much worse. They could declare martial law. You could have to submit to a military checkpoint every mile and a half between here and Walmart. Yeah, I mean, we're not at the point where you need to start throwing your fists up and going, you're infringing on my constitutional rights. They're actually not. I mean, maybe if you own a furniture shop and you were told to shut down for 30 days, sure, that you could argue that's an infringement of your constitutional rights. Except they didn't actually tell anyone to shut. When Governor Abbott recently said, okay, now you can do online orders and you can do curbside pickup for non-essential shops, I'm sitting here going, you mean what Best Buy's been doing the whole time?
No, they're essential because they provide services to medical companies.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's how they allowed themselves to continue business. Dead serious.
Every shop could have done that.
I'm aware.
Every
and
shop
anyone
who
who
could have done the same thing.
Lots of people did.
When
That's why
Michael's
coffee shops
Hobby
were still
Lobby got
open.
Shut down. Huh?
That's why coffee shops, including like the bikini ones in Colorado, they were. She was like, "How am I essential?" and it was like, "Well, you serve medical people on their way to work," and she's like,
"Right,
but all right." They're still paying. I was watching it. I saw it on TikTok. She was like, "How am I essential?" Sitting out here in a bikini, and I'm like, "Well, if that coffee's that good." Supposedly they sell.
I think it's more about
smoothies.
keeping medical professionals alert when they're at work.
Yeah, I mean, gotta have your coffee.
I mean, if you want to be alert at work, though, you should just grab a Monster and.
No, you should grab a Bang. They have less sugar.
This has no sugar.
Yeah, no Bang has sugar, though. None of them. Not just a specific one. And these are great for if you work out. For those of us that don't, they just taste good. Because they taste a whole of a heck lot better. This one is Purple Haze. It tastes like fake grape.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Yeah, we're talking over there. You behave yourself. The wife, she's trying
Does
to
it make
speak.
you feel like Prince while you're drinking it?
She's trying to speak again. I gotta keep her from speaking. It's just ridiculous.
So my mother-in-law's yelling at us on Facebook.
Why?
To not drink energy drinks.
Well, considering I have acute arthritis, by the time I'm 50 will not be able to bend over. A heart attack is preferable. Sorry. Like, I'm looking for the exit door.
No.
And if I die because of a Bang, maybe my chick will get some money for suing him.
Sue them. Shoot. They'll like buy your life story and make it into a movie as an advertisement for Bang.
My chick.
Hey, you're my chick at the moment. That's what happens when I start
At the
drinking
moment?
Purple Haze. That's what that is.
She's your chick at the moment? Hey, why are you muting us?
I didn't mute y'all. I muted me. There's a difference. What the bad part is if I do it, I can't be nonchalant because since I'm streaming the desktop, not the window, the little thing comes down and says, "Teams cannot find your audio device. Would you like to fix
Does
that?"
it really?
Until I unmute. And you're like, "No, I'm muted. Thanks."
That's funny. I don't see any of that. I mean, I see your
No.
face.
Yep.
All right, so there are still churches that are meeting face to face.
Yep.
And if they were able to practice social distancing doing that, I might say that's okay. But they're not.
A lot of them are purposely not.
Right. Intentionally not using wisdom. Right?
Well, so
I'm sorry. I had to. I couldn't help myself.
Tina just goes, they're not
What
UDJ. UG. I'm too
they're not-
dyslexic to use anchor.
UGJ.
Those.
They're not UGJ.
So there are the problem with this situation is using wisdom and using judgment is based on having wisdom, first off, and second off, using the correct people around you, surrounding yourself with wise counsel. The problem is there are scientists, people who are doctors, people who are like, no, we shouldn't be social distancing. This is insane. You should only be socially distancing if you're sick, and things like that. And the problem is when you get that both sides, you're people who don't have enough wisdom to lean on themselves. They make unwise judgments because of their lack of understanding. Did I word that really well? And so now I will backtrack and speak how Nooms normally speaks. And it's stupid people listen to other stupid people who claim to be doctors and have little degrees that make them doctors, but yet are morons, and go, well, this guy said it. And so that's the problem with these types of situations, is we have both sides where it's like, okay, personally, I'm using the wisdom of, hey, my grandmother is old. You got old people in your life. We ain't got no old people here, but like Miss B next door, our next door neighbor, she's cool. But like, she comes walking towards the house, and I'm like, whoa. Like, you need to stay right over there just in case. I am not going to be the reason you die. Like, it is not going to be on me. Because you caught something. So you need to go on the other side of it. We can yell. We perfectly capable. You good. And so, I mean, there's those situations, but there are certain, like, you look at Dallas County versus Tarrant County. Dallas County's like, you got to wear a mask to go outside. Tarrant County's like, we opening up this week. You're like, whoa. Tennessee's releasing shutdown starting tomorrow. And it's like they're releasing the stay-at-home orders. And you're like, the curve is still doing like these. The deaths are still doing
not only is the curve still going up, but usually pandemics have a second wave.
Yeah. And so it's like, I am not, luckily my company, who's based in Nashville, are like, no, you're not, no, the office is closed. Don't move yet. There ain't no reason for you to have to, don't try to find a house and move right now. You can wait.
Oh, but the prices right now should be banging, man.
They're really not. They haven't started dipping yet. They'll probably start dipping next month. But, to use that example, in Tennessee, because the news is like, hey, we're opening, hey, we're this, hey, we're that. My parents and my 76-year-old grandmother went out house shopping today. Now, my grandmother was wearing a mask, but they were talking to realtors. They were, they're out looking for a house so that way we can, make the move easy. But I assumed when they said we're going to go looking that it was going to be like, okay, we're looking. Here's a nice neighborhood. There's a nice neighborhood. Hey, look, this house isn't locked because it's not done. Let's go in. Because that's what we did growing up. My grandmother built houses. So, you go through a neighborhood, you're like, ooh, that one's open. It's not open because it's open. It's open because there ain't a door. So you go in, you look around. Nah. The realtor was out there. Other couples were in the houses. I'm going, I kept going, you guys sure you should be out? Now, the problem is, even my mother, and talking to her, who works in the medical field, is like, we're open. We're opening back up. People are going back to work, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but should you? But all of the news and stuff there is all positive. We're good, we're good, we're good. And the rest, the national news and everyone else is like, we really shouldn't be. But my Facebook, I had several conservatives and more right side. There's not as many left side people saying things like this. But more my white side are like, look, this doctor right here said we can go back. And he is a medical professional. And you're like, yeah, he is. So, I have some empathy for some people who are falling into those categories and making those decisions based on false information, because that's what's being fed to them right now. That's where my point was going to, and I think I took too long to get there, but that's kind of what I was meaning was, you know, we need to look at it from that standpoint.
The speakers are here.
What's wrong?
She says you're still echoing, even though I've turned it down.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, I can barely hear you, but they're hearing you twice.
Yeah. I can see myself. I speak through the blue mic, and then I speak through the desktop audio a few seconds later. Which desktop audio is you, by the way. Sorry. Which is then coming out of my speaker, and then my blue picks it up slightly, but not enough to actually register on the stream the third time. Because luckily the blue only registers the front, and the speakers are back here. But
So I wonder what they would think was worse, you echoing or me being all muffled.
Muffled. Because my voice is awesome to hear twice.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. So I see what you're saying about, you know, getting conflicting voices and da-da-da. I read an article today talking about a pastor from 2 weeks ago in Louisiana, right? So Louisiana is the hardest hit southern state right now. And this pastor in Louisiana held Palm Sunday services, even though he was told not to hold face-to-face services. Over 1,000 people showed up, right? And he still held service. And then there were protesters outside because they were meeting. What did you say?
Sorry. That was
For what?
that was supposed to open over here, and it didn't. It opened over there.
Oh, something that I didn't see, but they saw. What did you open?
I'm checking just to make sure, which I don't think it'll help, but I'm checking to see if I switch to my headphones, if it will help with the echo, but I don't think it will. I don't think it's the blue mic causing the issue. I think it's the... But I want to check, so I'm checking.
Right. So they held Palm Sunday services. There were protesters. The pastor almost hit one of the protesters with a church van, so he got arrested for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he got...
That is, so, yeah, that, oh, wow. That echo is really bad when I put my headset on. Yeah, that got even worse. So it's definitely not on this. Because that made it worse. Well, what I was, 1 second.
Louder.
There. Okay. So, I thought possibly turning off my speakers would cut down some of the echo.
Okay, but it made it worse.
But it made it worse, which means the echo's not on... The echo can't be on this side if these were the headphones, and that's the microphone. Other than the fact that my noise canceling on the blue got turned down. So as opposed to it canceling out one of the two echoes, it made it worse. That's okay. We can figure it out later. I mean, I hear that same echo every time we talk, so I mean we can troubleshoot it after.
Every time who talks? You talk or I talk?
Every time we talk on Teams.
Really?
Yep. I'm used to it. It happens a lot with people who use not headsets. Which is why when I stream, I don't use my desktop speakers except for this meeting. I use my headphones for sound and
my wife just said the echo went away altogether.
What?
My wife says the echo has gone away altogether.
I can see it.
She just came in here and said there's no more echo.
All right. Well, whatever we did.
Nothing.
Well, I can actually see I can see me, like if you're completely quiet, I can see me speak, and then a few seconds later, it comes through your mic. I can hear it through my speakers. So I don't know. It's fine. Hey, if it's not coming across, great. The streaming service is doing its job of cutting it out somehow.
I'm not sure where I put my headphones. Now that's going to bug me that I don't know where my headphones are.
I really wish the iOS teams worked like the Windows teams where you can tell it, a different input and a different output. So you could say, hey, my output should be my earbuds, but my input should be my microphone. But it's like, nah, can't do it. No. 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 No.
All right, you.
Aren't you going to have to hold the phone super? Oh, okay. I see. We haven't tried those.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
The same as before?
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't know why you're saying pretty much, because these don't have a microphone on them. I'm still talking through the same microphone.
I think you might have changed your vocal tone slightly.
Okay.
It just sounded like it was a different volume. But I'm not getting an echo.
That's probably because I have headphones on.
I'm not getting an echo. There's no feedback now.
I just got these monster headphones on now.
Well, if you want, I can put mine on even though they're not on, and you won't feel as bad. Here you go. There.
I can't hear you.
Mama sends a thumbs up.
Mama says thumbs up. There's no more echo now.
Yeah, I'll put mine on just so you feel special, even though they're not on. How's that sound?
It sounds like you're a weirdo.
I don't want you to feel alone. Okay,
I
would you
don't
prefer
feel
for me to?
alone.
Would you prefer for me to put this on and be completely fake because I'm not using that microphone? Or if you'd
Now you
like,
got 2 sets of headphones on.
if you'd like, I can actually grab these wired ones and I can put them on.
What are you doing?
I'll just hold them right here like this. Does that make you feel better?
You got me fidgeting with the fuelless lighter.
Okay, take off
No
the work.
fuel, no flint. It's just a fidget, and you got me fidgeting with it.
Take the work headphones off. Take the gaming headphones off. Put the girls' headphones back. Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay.
You do kind of look like Iron Sanctuary right now.
I do not. You're just
Yeah.
saying that because I said that about that girl.
No, I saw him on TikTok today, and you definitely looked like him for a second there.
That's very racist to say that all bald men look alike.
Bald is not a race,
Prove it.
for one. For two, that's an extremely insensitive and offensive thing to say, to compare race to baldness. That's
No.
like saying you shouldn't use the N-word for black people, so you shouldn't use the Mormon word for Mormons. It's not a good comparison.
Why?
Why? Because Mormon's not a race.
Oh, okay. Are you sure? I think they're born into it.
No, I mean, most cults you're born into, but there's some indoctrination there and some choice.
Fine. It's an ageist thing to say.
Baldness has nothing to do with age. It's all about genetics.
Well, but it becomes worse as you get old, and then you see yourself on camera as you can see through your hair, and you go, "Oh, I look disgusting," and shave your head.
I've known people in their early 20s that were bald
I know.
because it kicked in. I mean, it's a genetics thing.
My uncle was at his college hazing and wearing a toupee. My dad at 30 should have shaved his head.
Mhm.
And at 50 whatever really should shave his head. Hope he's not watching. Cuz he does on Facebook sometimes. So if he happen to, I'll get yelled at later. But it's okay.
That's okay. All right. So, did you see that there are churches suing their local governments over this thing?
Yep. And the problem is there it's one of those situations where, again, it's like you talked about in the podcast, and I used it as an example with a close friend of mine. If I felt like the government was actually telling me not to meet, you could not be a Christian organization anymore, period, I would have a problem with it. Because, I'm commanded to spread the God. There's certain, you telling me you cannot do anything, you can't be a Christian anymore, blah, 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 I'd have an issue. But in a situation like this, where it's, hey, you should meet online if you can, and if you can't, y'all better be real far apart, and there's organizations going, well, that's a good idea, but we're still going to hold service, and we're going to make sure that we're not listening to the government, and we're going to sit right next to each other. And you're like, like, I got a problem with that. Now,
Right.
I did have a debate with someone because there was someone on YouTube, and she laid out this very elaborate story as to this was the government's first step to shutting down churches. And she claimed to believe that Trump was the Antichrist, and that this whole big list of things. And so as she got there, she got to the end, and she's like, so I'm not listening to the government, and we should all be meeting because it's just the government's ploy to... And my friend reported it on all of his accounts, because, not all, most, don't want to misrepresent him, and he said it was because what she was saying was harmful and dangerous. And we got into a discussion because, whereas, yes, she's insane, if I truly believed everything she believed, I might come to a similar conclusion. But you got to have some special beliefs to get there. Is the nicest way I can put that. So, like, I don't, like, I can understand where some people are coming from, but I don't agree with them. And I think they're crazy. But I understand why they're crazy. Does that make sense? And, like, they truly believe, sadly, that it's the government trying to shut down their church. Which it's not. And like you said, it could be so much worse. And that's the problem with entitled Americans. Texans especially.
I mean, entitlement doesn't stop with Americans. It's this whole first world mentality. You know?
Yeah. It's just we really hold on to some of our freedoms a lot stronger than other countries. Mm-hmm. Other countries, something tragic happens and they're like, as a country, we should do something about it. Whereas we're like, we can buy more guns. And you're like, all right.
We can stock up on guns and toilet paper.
Like, I get it. Like, I have no issue with guns, of course. Anyone who knows me knows I like guns. Guns are fun. Guns go boom. But some people might not need to own as many as they own. I personally don't own any just because I don't. No actual reason. TikTok wants you to know that small gestures are important.
What?
Make a difference in someone. I can't read the whole thing. I don't know. I watch my phone because I have the Twitch on it. I got the Twitch stream up. And it just came up like, TikTok. Someone special, blah, 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 blah. Do a small gesture. It can mean a lot to someone. And I'm like, what? All right. I mean, they're not wrong.
All right. So we're 8 minutes out. So I got to pick and choose on my notes here now.
Sorry. I talked too much tonight.
No, it was good though.
No, it wasn't. It was me babbling.
All right. So, with people drawing that line that you were talking about where the lady was like, Trump's well, you didn't say it, but she said it. Trump's the Antichrist. Or maybe she did say that. She said that Trump was the Antichrist. Which, as a side note, if you're going to blame that someone's the Antichrist, do some research and make sure they even fit one criteria for who the Antichrist is supposed to be. One, the Antichrist is supposed to deny that Jesus ever came in the flesh. Openly deny. Trump doesn't do that. Two, they have to be or be suspected to be of Egyptian descent. Obviously not Trump. So on and so forth. Or have come out of Egypt at some point. Like Jesus did. He spent a couple of years in Egypt and he came out of Egypt. Mm-hmm. So there's all these things that the Antichrist has to fulfill. And unless he can fulfill those, he can't be the Antichrist. And so Trump is far from qualifying for being the Antichrist. And so I wouldn't even worry about that. But so where do you draw the line, right? Because I'm talking about, well, these churches are doing this, and these people are saying this, and this lady's saying you're saying this lady's saying this. So where do you draw that line? When, like you said, if they outlawed Christianity, you would have a problem with that, right? And so where you draw the line is, what are you willing to die for? Mm-hmm. Are you willing to die for your Sunday morning services? Are you willing for herding people into a room like cattle, having a concert that happens to be worship songs, and then giving a lecture from a stage? Are you willing to die for that? If you are, then that's your personal line. Now, should you then go and defy the government and face that line and face being killed? That's a question you have to answer for yourself. People in China have been facing that dilemma for a long time. First time you get arrested, it's bad. The second time you get arrested, it's real bad. The third time you get arrested, you may never come back out in China for violating their religious laws, But like I said at the end of the podcast, you can't outlaw the fruits of the Spirit. If they quote unquote outlaw Christianity, there's nothing to stop us from going out and continuing to love people, to support people, to, lift up people. There's nothing stopping you from feeding people, except I did see an article where a pastor was fined for having an outdoor feeding for homeless people because of coronavirus regulations that he didn't take into account. So he was given a fine because
that's
was
not death.
Offering food. Right. That's not death. Right. That's not death. So that's where you should draw the line. You need to draw the line at death. If they say you can't meet face to face, are you willing to die over seeing each other face to face? If they say you can't meet online, are you willing to die over not being able to see each other online? In what they've done in China for years is, before they did the whole registered church thing, which they kind of had to switch to because of they wanted to host the Olympics, and you can't host the Olympics if you discriminate against religion. So China had to change the way they were responding to Christianity. But before they did that, they would say, well, you can't meet in groups larger than 5, right? And so they would literally have a house party where they would feed dinner to 5 or less people and have church within someone's home.
And then they do that 100
times. There was nothing they could do about that, right?
Yep.
And they'd say, what are you guys doing in there? And they'd say, we're having dinner party with friends. Well,
I'm teaching English.
Yeah, I'm teaching English. What are you doing? I'm teaching English. We're having a house party with friends.
Sorry, if I'm a government, that's the first thing I'm looking for. Anyone who's teaching English, you're a missionary. You're a liar. Because it's like the go-to that they use. Like,
Pretty
I'm
much.
an English teacher. Are you?
It's yeah. I'm here to teach English. What kind of English are you teaching? We have a list of words that we're teaching: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They're just words. So yeah. Honestly, a lot of people today who believe they're Christians, call themselves Christians, believe they're living a Christian life, if they faced up against the same type of persecution as John the Baptist and Stephen and James and Philip and Barnabas and Mark and Peter and Paul and Silas and Andrew and Bartholomew and Thomas and Luke and Timothy, they would give up.
Yep.
They would just give up. They wouldn't even try anymore. And I guess the last thing I really want to bring up is, we talked about, there was the pastor on TikTok who was saying, I don't want to, shame any other churches, but it's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego time, and our church isn't going to bow down. Okay, first off, bro, that is shaming other churches. Let's just get that straight. You are shaming other churches. And second, the story you're bringing up is a child's story to build child's faith, where the heroes all survive. That's not true faith. if the stories that give you strength of your faith are stories where the hero miraculously survives, Daniel in the lion's den, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What are some others? Some modern day ones. The guy in Africa with the diseases, they put it on his hand and he would die. John Lake, is that right? Jim Elliott. Anyway, if you're drawing stories and the only stories that give you strength are stories where people miraculously survive, that's a false strength. Because, John the Baptist was beheaded, Stephen was stoned, James was executed, Philip was stoned. All of the fathers of the faith, who most of them knowing Christ personally, did not miraculously survive. It took faith to be a Christian then. And a survey came out that said 90% of pastors believe what we're seeing today is part of the end times. Okay? If that's true, and there are guillotines in our future as Christians, you're going to change your outlook. Going to need to change your outlook. Because true faith is going to be necessary for that. And if you're drawing strength from stories where your heroes miraculously survive and freaking out because you have to wear a mask to go to the store, I'm afraid you're not going to make it.
And that's a big problem we're seeing in other, as you mentioned earlier, other first world nations right now. Because as regulations get stricter, you see a falling away of the faith. And you see a much smaller grouping of Christianity. Even if you look to our north, where freedoms are not as good as ours.
Right.
They have people that have, just given up because it's like, well, I can't preach on this one passage, so I'm not going to do it no more, and just walk away.
Yeah.
And you're like,
in most of Canada, it's a misdemeanor to read scriptures that list homosexuality as a sin.
Yep.
You get thrown in jail for the night if you read the scripture in public. Okay, but it lists other things too. It lists lying as a sin too.
Yep.
It puts the two things in the same list. You know what I mean? I'm like, where's the disconnect here? Like,
yeah, and
why all of a sudden is there some outrage over? I don't understand why you can't read a certain scripture. It's like, are the liars offended too? I don't get it.
Well, but what it comes down to is you can still spread the gospel without, but people are just walking away.
Scriptures.
They're like, well,
Right.
I can't preach anymore. Whoa! There's like 4 verses in the Bible you can't use. And you can only not use certain translations of those verses. Like, if you switch a translation, it's still okay to read
And
it.
you're good.
Like,
Right.
so, but like to just walk away from the faith because, well, I can't be a preacher anymore. Huh? Well, I can't be a Christian because it's illegal now. They didn't even say that.
Were you ever really a Christian at that point? I mean,
Yeah,
like
if that one scripture. Now, that being said, our church is open to a lot of situations because we believe in bringing people in, and then, sin is, there's all the stuff in Romans, Romans 9:1, all that. But
sin is something for you and God to take care of in your own prayer closet.
Exactly.
It's not something for me to beat you over the head about.
So if your whole thing is, well, I can't beat people up no more, you were not in this for the right huh?
You were in this to be a bully. Yeah.
Like, you just want to be I'm trying to find words that Pastor Bill won't yell at me for using. I can't find any of them. He found it, though. It was bully. Bully's a good one.
Bully.
You know what I mean. Everyone else knows what I mean. But yeah. So.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next time.
I had something else I was going to say right quick, but now I don't remember what it is. So
that's why you're supposed to write it down.
Important. Oh, write it down. Guess I gotta learn to write. That's a good look right there. That was a really good look.
I was confused.
You was confused.
I was confuzzled.
Confuzzled. All right. So, have a good week. Go listen to the new podcast. It came out about half an hour ago. The video version will drop in about half an hour. It's called Divine Frustration. It actually wasn't supposed to be Divine Frustration. It was supposed to be Sabbath Part 1. But then Thursday morning, I woke up and the Holy Spirit was like, yeah, your list is wrong. This is the podcast you're supposed to be doing. And I had to start over on Thursday morning. And I was like, that's not cool. And then I finished it and recorded it last night. And I was like, that's not cool. And he was like, you know what's not cool is you not listening to me earlier and getting the right list in the first place. And I was like, oh, okay. You got me there. So go listen to it. Divine Frustration. Have a good week. I love you. Pastor Nooms loves you. And if they're still having it, come. You love the people. And if they're still having it in July, at the end of July, come see us at Dallas Pride. Pastor Nooms thinks they're going to cancel it. I don't know. It's possible. They're canceling everything else. I mean, they've already moved it back. So hopefully at the end of July, we'll be able to get together and love on some folks. So
I'll be flying back, maybe.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
We don't know what's going on. We got boxes.
We don't know
packed.
what's going to happen. Yeah, I see them right there behind the camera. They're back here behind me.
Yeah.
Behind you. Behind me.
Behind you.
Anyway. Yeah,
He
behind me.
has seen the boxes.
I have seen the boxes.
I was
Yeah.
like, you didn't turn my
Well, and half my stuff is gone from behind me. All my pictures, all
Yeah, your wall's so big.
my... I know, it's so weird. All my little toys and stuff are gone.
Yeah. Look, I added some knickknacks. I've got my
They
Smith
can't see
Wigglesworth.
those.
You can't see this?
Would you like
Oh,
them
yeah,
to
you're
see
in the
those?
way.
Would you like them to see those?
Sure.
Okay. Woo! I'm at the top now. I'm over your eyeball. No, I'm in your beard.
You're my
All
eyeball?
right, there you go.
All right, so I've got my Smith Wigglesworth collection here of his teachings and my CSB Bible, and then I think I'm out of frame here with my Geneva Bible and then my Maria Woodworth Eder. I got this nice little crystal thing that my wife got me on our first anniversary Christmas thing.
We can't see what the picture is. It's too pixelated.
Yeah, I see that. It's a picture of me and my wife and Gregory when Gregory was a baby. And it's like the air bubbles down in the crystal.
And I see a TARDIS.
And I've got my bauble TARDIS here. And then a paperweight.
I don't think your camera likes the amount of movement you're doing right now.
No?
It's like, he's moving too much. I shall pixelate everything.
So, did you see that BBC announced a Doctor Who spinoff?
I have not. I heard rumors of it.
It's called Time Lord Victorious.
What?
Yeah.
What's it about?
That's all they've dropped. Today at noon, they dropped the title, Time Lord Victorious.
Did you hear this jerk over here? She goes.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
She goes, it's about Time Lords being victorious.
Well, you
Oh, my. So, David Tennant called himself the Time Lord Victorious
Oh.
when he saved that lady from Mars that was supposed to die. But I doubt it's a return of David Tennant for more 10 episodes. It's probably going to be the Master, given what has happened most recently on Doctor Who that you haven't seen yet.
Right.
So that's as far as I'm going to say in that. But
don't throw pens at me. Ow!
I think we've buffered enough. You can probably hit the
Okay, I hit the button.